Well, this is a real production over here. Hey guys, I just sent the links to y'all box. Hey, good evening.
Okay.
This is D. Horace Towns, joined by illustrious cast. I'm joined by Nita Story, and I'm joined by the Kierra Hester. The intentions for this afternoon was for us to try to deliver a real unbiased meet the candidate. I think throughout some conversation this week, we feel as if some of the questions that the residents want to hear are not being answered, and we wanted to give a fair shot to a lot of the elected officials and candidates running for office. I personally believe a lot of the media stories are sometimes biased, and I actually wanted to make sure that for once we actually spoke about politics. And traditionally, we talk about everything else, it's drama, it's personal stuff. But right now, our intent is to have some integrity and introduce you to the candidates that are running for office in 2022 and Riviera Beach. Nita, do you have something to add to that?
I just want to welcome everybody here. Thank you for taking the time out to spend this little time with us on Friday night. And I hope you learned something and helps you make a decision. Welcome.
D. Kierra Hester.
Hey, everybody. I'm so glad you can join in and ask your questions or hear your questions answered. I'm here on behalf of the millennials. So I just want to get that 20 to 40 gap back connected in our city. So, hi.
Yeah, welcome. I'm so glad you're here because I know we needed a millennial voice because I was just telling Horace, I don't know what y'all need. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I am so glad we could get you in here.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you for having me.
did you guys have your links that you posted?
Hold on. I'm
Giving
going
them
now. You said it's
time.
in my message. It's in
Yep,
my
I sent it your
messages.
message. I want everybody in tune from the giddy up. So in your inbox, you should both have your links. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. You guys want me to just add your own? Nita, let's go. Let's go. Kara, were you able to post your link?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we ready to go? I think we lost Nita. You
There
ready,
she
Nita?
goes.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. You ready?
Yes.
Hello?
You ready?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you, Nita.
I can't hear you. I'm gonna go out.
Oh my goodness. You have to actually leave. We apologize for the technical difficulties because this is the first run with our first candidate. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Come on, Nita. Can we hear you, Nita? Do 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 do. We are waiting patiently for Nita's story to join the cast. Do 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 do. Kara, how about we change the order? Hey, listen, while I wait on Nita's story to join our cast, I don't want to have any dull moments. So I will introduce the candidate that is running for District 3 in the city of Riviera Beach. Her name is Marvelous Washington. Let me add her to our cast.
Hello?
Can we hear you, Nita?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. Okay, I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Listen, right now we're going to introduce Marvelous Washington to the cast. Here you go, Marvelous.
Hi, nice to meet you. I've talked to you so much on Nita's story, but nice to finally meet you virtually, of course.
It's nice to meet everybody face to face. Isn't that something?
Yes,
Facebook, social media is something, man.
Yes.
Well,
And happy Super Bowl weekend.
Yes.
Okay, so the format, our intentions is to be not long. We would hopefully try to make this 1 hour. At the 45-minute mark, we will try to ask our last question or give the candidate a chance to sum up. And we're going to go in rotation. I'm going to go to Nita's story, myself, and then Kierra Hester. Nita, can you please start off the questions for Ms. Marvelous Washington?
Yes. Just to start off, why, with your experience, why are you the better candidate than, if we didn't make it clear, Miss Marvelous Washington is running for District 3. That is the seat currently held by Shirley Lanier, that covers the Federal Gardens area. So being with your experience, why are you the best candidate to replace Miss Lanier?
Well, I value people over politics. The citizens and my colleagues can rely on me to be, my professionalism is unmatched. Not only that, I'm ethical, where my integrity can not only be questioned, I am transparent, and I can be trusted to make the best decisions based off our needs of this residents instead of politics. In addition to that, I am a little background about my educational background. I'm a graduate of University of Central Florida. I also have a master's degree from Nova Southeastern University. Both degrees relate to legal studies. So that is my background in policy and procedure making. So that's what makes me the better candidate. I plan to act in the best interest of residents over the interest of political gain.
Okay, my question, Ms. Washington, what do you believe are the core responsibilities a council member should possess to be successful in their position representing the city of Riviera Beach?
Well, you have to be trustworthy. You have to be transparent. You have to be service driven. The last one, service driven, is the main characteristic you need to serve, is to be a public servant. If you're not willing to serve the community, you shouldn't be on the dais. And that's some of the things that we have issues with in our district. District 3 has been one of those districts which our needs haven't been represented. And granted, it's an entire city need that needs to be met, but I want a representative that will represent my needs and know exactly what our needs are, not only from my community in Lone Pine Estates, but the needs that are represent Federal Gardens, our neighbors over in Marsh Harbor, etc. So you have to get out in the community to provide that service, to know exactly what the needs are for our residents. So you have to be transparent. You have to showcase some form of integrity, and you have to be a public servant. And what I mean by public servant, not by their name, but in action. And lastly, you have to be an honest person as best as you can to ensure that you are straightforward for the residents, and there's no gray area on which side that you pertain to.
Ms. Kierra Hester?
Hello. So a question that I received from some millennials were, we see a lot of initiatives for the seasoned constituents and for the youth, but it seems as though we're missing that 20 to 40 gap. Are there any initiatives that you have that you plan on doing if elected for the millennial group?
Well, first off, hail to the millennials. I am a millennial, but I consider myself a designated millennial because I'm just at that cusp of being within that frame. But you're right. There's so many procedures and policies that's put in place for an older generation of residents because we're so traditional in Riviera Beach. But there needs to be focus on small business development, entrepreneurship opportunities. And not only that, I think that the amount of community events that we have so many young people in our city that's involved in promotion activities. There's no reason why we're not subcontracting with those individuals to ensure they have opportunities to promote the activities and the events that's happening within our city. Not only that, I came back from school thinking I was going to get a job within the city that I was born and raised in. There was no opportunities for me because we don't have training on the job training positions available in our city. You don't have water plant training positions. There's no training positions in HR, but there should be because you have people that leave and go off to school and some come back, they want to start their own business or they want to work for city government. We've always was taught to come back and get a government job, not that glamorous anymore, but that is what we were taught to do. Go and get your education, come back and provide a service to your city. Those opportunities is not as prevalent in our city, and we need to increase those. And we have to include our millennial generation because we are a generation in which we want to be our own boss. We want to work for ourselves. Not only that, we want to do so by serving the community. So back in the day, it was a hard balance of being a business owner and serving the community. But see, that's who we are. We want to also create a business, and the business that we create, we want to also provide a service to the community, and we need the support that from our people that's on the dais and our city government to support us in that way. There should be more small business opportunities.
Nita story.
Okay, piggybacking off, you mentioned small business owners. There are many complaints about opening businesses in our community. The Pangea Grill, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, owner has been coming to the council for years complaining about opening of her business. What can we do to bring quality businesses to our community, especially small business owners?
First off, Nita, I propose to ensure that we provide or create a housing and economic development department so that we have a department where small business owners can go and get assistance from. They don't have anywhere to go. We have all these programs and training services for people that's trying to get into small business and try to legitimize their business, but we don't have any resources for existing businesses. So we need to be serious about creating a department, not only to provide affordable housing to our residents, but to provide economic and business development for small businesses so that they have somewhere where they can go get these resources. We cannot get businesses here if we don't focus on our infrastructure. We all know what the issue is with the quality of our water, and we almost lost one of our Fortune 500 businesses because of it. So until we focus on our infrastructure, provide, get the funding from our federal government and our state government in regards to our infrastructure, because it should not be a cost put on to the residents, we won't be able to attract those small businesses that we need to, okay? Because that's just, our situation at this moment. So we need to create a department for housing development, housing, affordable housing, and economic development with a specialization, a person that's in there, chief financial officer, to help small business owners navigate our system, because there's a backlog. There's more stories on there that we receive from small business owners that can't get any services right now in a timely fashion, and it's hurting their businesses. That's why businesses are not coming to our city.
Okay, I hope this isn't the same question, but I'll ask you, what is your main priority as council person? Once you're elected, what is your main priority for the city of Riviera Beach residents? And briefly describe your plan or your commitment to that priority.
Well, I want to provide the leadership that prioritizes citizens, residents over politics. One of my main priorities, and I just spoke about it, is creating a housing economic development department so that our residents have opportunity to transition through the social aspects in which we need to gain affordable housing, become homeowners. Because as you know, the majority of our residents right now is renters. And the problem with that is if we have 80% of renters in our city, we lack economic development. The only way we can create economic development is not only providing the resources, but creating a plan for residents to become homeowners. And we have plenty of programs that's outside of our city, but we need a department to bring those programs together so our residents basically have a one-stop shop. We create all these positions, but the positions don't have any value if you're not servicing our residents. So it's a must that we create a department to provide affordable housing options. And these new developments that's being built in our city, we're requiring them to hire our residents, but we should be requiring them to offer a percentage of those housing developments to our residents, to our working class. That's what we're missing. You can't require the contractors to hire our residents in these skilled positions if you're not providing housing for them. So that's one of the things I plan on bringing to the seat, and the vision and the plan that I have. And not only that, I want to bring some respectability to the seat. It's a must that we continue to represent the city of Riviera Beach and the best that we can. We've had our faults, we have, but it's a must that we bring integrity back to that seat. We be honest and be transparent, and remember that we are public servants first.
Yes, ma'am. To piggyback on what you said, Miss Marvelous, about we have promoters here, we have different people that serve in different capacities here in the city, but our reputation is not there. So,
Yeah.
if elected, how can you change how other communities view us as Riviera Beach?
Well, first off, my reputation speaks for itself. In my capacity that I'm in, I am a city employee. I work in a governmental function. I am a manager of the department. So therefore, everything that I do, as far as at work and off the job, is magnified. So it's a must that not only do we talk about it, we be about it. Oftentimes, we talk about being this person that is imaginary, and then we get these unfair media stories about the city's reputation, and basically these stories are based on what our reputation was previous years and the reputation that we have right now in addition that reside in. But it's a must that we continue to walk that talk and continue to be that public servant that we claim to be, and be transparent and show the integrity on the seat and be reputable and ensure that residents just create an open door, because most of the time residents need additional help and need additional services, and they don't feel comfortable going to their representative. We have to make sure that our residents can come to us and we help by any means necessary, whether they're from the west side, east side, north, or south. All residents should be respected, and we should show that type of respect while we're on the dais.
Okay, you mentioned being, a supervisor for West Palm Beach. Other than, I know you work for a government, but do you have any experience in governmental procedures? Do you have have you been in any boards, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, currently I'm on the Riviera Beach CDC board, which our main goal is to rehabilitate houses and to create home ownerships for residents that may not be there financially to become a homeowner. So we want to create those resources for them. And not only that, want to continue to acquire homes within the city of Riviera Beach to provide for our current residents. And that's the problem. So right now we have about 57 homes that have been rehabbed, 42 projects that's in the future of rehab. I also have a background in nonprofit organizations. I started off at the Boys and Girls Club, and I was a director over programming for that. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a service organization, and I am a campus manager with the City of West Palm Beach. So my government background really started with the City of West Palm Beach. I've been there for 15 years. I've been involved in union negotiations. I am a union employee. I've been represented by the union since I've been in the City of West Palm Beach. Not only that, I am involved in policy making. Currently, I'm on the city's emergency response team, in which we organize response to emergencies. And that emergencies used to be just natural disasters. But now, as you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So I've been tasked with the duties of organizing vaccination drives, COVID-19 testing sites. The organization and how those things flow is basically coming from me. So my background in government is actually what I do daily, is provide policies, procedures, interpret policies and procedures for employees, staff, and recommend policies and procedures for my department and abroad. So I have over 15 years of government experience, and that relates to the seat with the city of Riviera Beach.
Okay, Miss Washington.
Mhm.
Uh, I want to ask you a question. Many homes outside of the CRA do not get the same benefits. What would be your plans to address the homes outside of the CRA district?
We don't get the same benefits for the CRA because there is a designation for certain areas that the CRA service. But sitting in these meetings and talking with various people, if a representative of a district was to partner with the CRA on any type of program that they're providing, your district can be eligible for those services. And that's not happening. That's not happening. And it needs to. The issue is we continue to be traditional in our way of thinking. We have to think outside the box and do things that we normally haven't done. One in particular is partner with the CRA. They have a Smart Kit program, which is providing people with the Ring doorbell, fire alarms, spotlights, anything to protect your home. But it's only for CRA residents. So I spoke up about that and was like, why? Because I have neighbors on S Avenue that can use those resources to protect their properties. These are the residents that really need it. And they said to me, you know what? Your district representative can collaborate with us to offer these services to the residents. Why is that not happening? See, that goes back to service to the residents. You have to service our residents. You got to think out of the box. Those type of services not have been utilized by some of the CRA residents will be utilized from my neighbors, some of your neighbors in different areas, Monroe Heights, Federal Gardens, Firehouse area. Those neighbors will utilize those services. And all we need to do is partnership. You have to have somebody on that that's going to bridge the gap and willing to work with people despite our differences, despite our political background, based off the main goal of the city of providing a service to the residents. And not only that, we need to have resources in which we partner with the county. The county has abundance of resources that our citizens don't have access to because they don't know. That's why we have to establish a department so that we can work hand in hand with the county so our citizens get those resources. I had a resident call me yesterday saying he's right outside the CRA district and was told that they're not going to offer any home rehab programs in the city of Riviera Beach because the county is offering them. But what the city of Riviera Beach don't know is the county is offering home rehab programs, but only in unincorporated areas. So it's a must we establish a department so we know those things so we can use the federal funding that came in for these activities in the right areas that are needed.
Okay, moving, well, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit. I did hear you mentioned something about our millennials going out and going to school or picking up a trade and then returning back to the city. We have a reentry, center in Riviera Beach. Are you interested in a reentry center for returning millennials when they leave college, like a center where they can transition back into the city, whether it be, our slogan is live, work, and play. So are you interested in a program that will help, newly graduates or something like that return back to the city of Riviera Beach?
That's a good idea. And that's what I was looking for when I came back to the city of Riviera Beach. I was looking for like open arms because when I grew up in the city, people that went off to school usually came back and worked in the recreation department. They were in public works. We had a sanitation department at one time. So people came back and actually worked for the city. And we saw that. So I assumed that that same welcomeness, that same opportunities will be provided to me once I came back from school. And it wasn't. But it's a must that we do provide those services. And again, the department that I'm speaking of can be that department to bridge the gap between millennials coming back to the city of Riviera Beach from school. We can't talk about what we're going to do. We actually have to put plans in place on how we're going to do it. So that is a good idea that we do have somewhere they can go for a resource to say, hey, I'm looking for a job in government. We need to have more training positions in which we can hire people returning from school. Not only people returning to school are reentry citizens. I'm one of those advocates that went out and made sure that reentry citizens received their voting rights back. I signed them up and got their fines paid for. I was out doing the work. So I know how hard it is for them to come back and be productive citizens. We don't offer resources to do so. And I'm glad that the reentry center is in Riviera Beach. But they also have issues with housing. And that's what this department will face, those goals. They will provide those opportunities and resources for the millennials to come back in. If you need job help, not only, we have Career Source in Palm Beach County, but we need to have somebody that can collaborate with the county resources and the city resources to ensure that our residents that come back from school have opportunities in the city, whether that's employment opportunities, small business opportunities, or entrepreneurship trainings and internships.
Thank you.
Okay. We love our corner stores. We do. But the corner stores tend to be a haven for violence, and Singer Island doesn't have that problem. I'm not knocking Singer Island, but they don't have the same issues that we have with our convenience stores on that side of the island. What can be done to kind of I know sometimes we need 24-hour convenience stores. I get it. And I can't think of the young man's name who comes in and complains every week about the convenience. Lloyd Brown, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown. But he does have some valid points about some of the things that are happening in our convenience stores. As a council person, what do you have? Do you have a plan? Do you have an opinion on that, or?
One of my plans is to create a citizen advisory board, not just for the police department, just for the community in general. We have to engage our store owners in this conversation. How many of the elected officials have you seen in these corner stores talking to the owners of them? I haven't seen anybody in Taz. I'm in Taz all the time talking to the owner because they are a staple in our community. Imagine if we use some of these corner stores to kind of spread the word of the things that's happening within the city of Riviera Beach and how often that would get to the residents. Because those are staples in our community. You're absolutely right. Those are staples in our communities. But we have to engage those store owners. We have to go in there and talk with them because they have needs too. I'm sure they don't like the loitering around their store. We've had violent crimes happen at one store in particular, but we need to we need to crack down on those store owners that are not willing to engage in a conversation and to make changes to better our communities because they don't deserve to be in our communities. And that needs to be a conversation. It's not us being facetious or being not being consistent in our policy making. Because let me tell you something, you can't hang out in front of a store on Sing Island. The policing is different. And the policing needs to be consistent on the west side of anywhere you are. There needs to be consistent because if we say no loitering, that's what it is. And that's when things happen. So we have to engage our business owners to ensure that we are meeting their needs and to let them know what we expect from their end. It has to be a community effort. And that's the problem we have. Provide them with outside cameras that go directly to our police department. Give them incentives of being in that program. Offer upgrades to their corner stores. Some of them corner stores need some upgrades, need a facelift. Some of them I wouldn't go in and buy anything out of because it doesn't look nice on the outside. You do have those that are very involved in our community, and we need to expand on that. So get inside the community, talk to these corner store owners, engage the conversation, talk about what we expect from them. That's what we need to do. We can't keep talking about what we want and expect them to be listening to the council meeting. You have to get out in the communities, in the neighborhoods, and do the work.
Where do I want to go with this one? Because I have questions. Miss Washington, I will keep it simple. And we have a tradition of this. I feel personally that a lot of times people are just getting off the couch and saying, I want to run for office. If you were elected, will you continue to keep the position that you have, or will you only be a full-time city council person?
Let me tell you this. The council position, when they voted to raise their salaries, became an attractive position. Not only it became an attractive position, when we decided that we were going to pay our legislative aides $34,000, some of them making more than that, with full benefits, it became an attractive position. So saying that you're going to be a full-time council member, you can still be a full-time council member, but you need to have a full-time job, because that council position should not cover your expenses as a responsible adult. And that's where that position became attractive. When you said people just get off the couch and run, when they voted to raise their salaries, and you remember that, you've been involved for years with the council. When they voted to raise their salaries, making them the highest just about up in the county, I want to say, I can't think of a city right now that makes more than them. That is an attractive position. You get people that want to come out and run for office year after year just to get one of those positions. And they're not running to provide the service to residents. They're running because they want to for self-preservedness. They work for selfish reasons. And that's what we have to discourage these potential candidates from doing. Because what happens is you have multiple people running these races, and it splits the votes. And then you end up with the same representation that residents don't want, that residents see is not working. And we have to change from that. When they voted to raise their salaries and making that position attractive, that's when we begin to get candidates that may or may not have been qualified to run, may have been running for selfish reasons, not to serve the community. And until we get that under control, you're going to still have the same problem. I plan on working full time for my personal job. I plan on staying on a job with my government job. And I plan on working full time for the residents like I've been doing without being an elected official. That's what I've been doing. Residents call me for help. And the first thing I ask is, have you called your representative? You know, I've been working hard. I'm currently working on a project right now with the Blue Heron seniors at the Blue Heron Estates, in which they want to have more activities there at the senior facility. So we're creating meetings with the housing authority so that they can hear what they would like to do. Now, how did they get my phone number? I don't have a clue. But when residents call, I answer the call. Oftentimes, I go and speak in public comments based off what a resident may have told me that is going on in their neighborhood. Or if an employee has an issue on a job, which is one of the reasons why SEIU has endorsed my campaign, because I'm a champion for city employees, and I've always been. So I plan on working 100% for my government job, and I plan on working 200% for the citizens of Riviera Beach, because I am a native of Riviera Beach, and that's how I'm born and raised to serve the residents.
Ms. Hester.
Thank you for that. So a lot of times watching the meetings, we see a lot of back and forth all the time. Would you be willing to work with some council members that maybe did not support you?
Yes. And that's the problem. It's the professionalism that's on the dais right now. As being an athlete, I was taught to be a team player. And what that meant was, despite the differences I had with my teammate, our ultimate goal was for us to win. So we may get in an argument, we may get in a downright about to go to blows, but the common goal was for us to win the game. That's the characteristics that I have as a person. I am a team player. I'm a team player. So despite our differences in regards to political ideas, whether or not I like you or not outside the dais, my personal views, it is our duty to work together as a council to ensure that all residents' needs are met. Not only am I there to represent District 3, but I'm also there to encourage my colleagues to work together to make the needs of my residents, my constituents that I represent. I want to ensure their needs are met as well as their constituents' needs are met. And that's the goal. There shouldn't be a push to have total power of the dais. There should be equitable power throughout our council so that decisions are made based off the residents' needs, not for specific agendas. And that's what we're having right now. So I plan on working. I don't care what our differences are. We're there to do the job, and that's what too much of it is going on. I mean, we have the same people that get up and talk during the council meetings. And a lot of times that's because the council meetings are televised. So a lot of people, television is great for people. But we need to be able to take what residents say. Just because they didn't vote for you doesn't mean you provide a service to them. You got to represent all residents, whether they voted for you or not. as well as your colleagues. And that's what I plan to do.
Okay. You touched on the water issue about, the company was getting ready to leave. And I hear there's another company that's also having some issues. So the water issue of the city of Riviera Beach, what are your thoughts on the current plan that's in place to make sure this city doesn't become the next Flint, Michigan?
Well, I'm going to tell you, we, a couple of residents and I planned a town hall meeting at Arbor Park maybe 6 or 8 months ago to provide a open dialogue for residents to speak with water quality experts so they can discuss the issues that we have. Because just to give you a little background, Arbor Park and the western communities in the city of Riviera Beach has the worst quality of water because the systems are older leading out to the western communities. That includes Lone Pine Estates, Turtle Cay, Arbor Park, Woodbine, etc. So we created a forum, which was virtually live so that you can see the discussion and kind of get what you want from that. We created this forum so that residents can have the opportunity to speak not only to the water experts, but we had city officials that showed up too, which was great because they were able to answer the questions from residents in regards to why their water was tinted, why they're getting cloudy water. Sometimes I cut on my sink and there's suds coming out. And I know I didn't use Dawn. But we need to do a quick fix right now until we get our new water plant. That's the best thing that could have happened was the council to agree to build a new water plant. It's the best thing they did. But we need to be providing water filters to our residents. There's funding for that. And not these $10,000 water filters that our neighbors in Arbor Park have to purchase because their water is so bad. But we can provide pure water filters that you could just attach onto your sink and you can at least improve the quality of water. My neighborhood's going to go through a flush on Monday that we're going to have to flush our pipes before we use it. But we got to do something for it right now. We can't keep talking about what we're going to do because what's happening is businesses are leaving our city because of our infrastructure problems and in particular our water quality. So we have to address the issue. It's too oftentimes we kind of shy away from the conversation. I mean, it's true. Our water quality sucks. It does. I don't drink the water. I don't even provide the water to my dogs. I boil water before I provide it to them. But we have to fix the issue. We can't keep ignoring it.
Okay, so then I got a second part to that question.
Mm-hmm.
Then, the question is, the water bills are very high, and they're steadily increasing, but the quality of the water is not good. It's not worth it. Will the new water plant stop the water bills from being so high?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. But if I'm put in office, it will stop it because, as you know, there was an increase to our utilities and the residents wasn't properly notified about it. So our water will go up, I believe, about 30% in 6 years, I believe. But with the new water plant, if we don't go out the federal funding, state funding to build that water plant, our rate increases would increase dramatically, more than what we're paying right now, because we're going to have to cover the cost of that new water plant. But we have to actively lobby for those resources. And, as of right now, no one has reached out to the state for financial resources for our new water plant. We have the federal monies that came in that President Biden has approved for infrastructure. And these are, and it's for impoverished communities, and we are considered impoverished communities. So these fundings opportunities are available to residents, are available to our city. We need somebody actively reaching out to the federal government, the state government, lobbying for those monies to come into Riviera Beach. I just saw that the city of Boynton Beach and Lake Park are receiving, I believe, $16 million, somewhere around that ballpark, to provide a resolution to their flooding issues that they're having. They don't have proper stormwater. My neighborhood doesn't either. But how do they get that money into those smaller communities? Lake Park is right next door to us. They have more resources than we do. And we're a bigger city, a larger city. So we have to lobby the state and the federal government for these monies, for funding for our new water plant. And if we don't do so, that new water plant, that cost is going to be pushed on the residents, just like they're pushing on the rest of the costs and the increase in the utility bills. Sooner or later, you're going to have to pay for a double valve mechanism to ensure that the quality of water is not tainted due to your sprinkler systems. That was something that was voted on early this year. That's going to be an additional $50 fee. Plus, each year you're going to have to get it serviced. See, residents are not aware of those things. These are the things that's happening, and these are the things that have been approved underneath the guise of this pandemic.
All right. Listen, I have a question. So in Riviera Beach, we got two cities in one. I think it's on Riviera Beach, but you have Singer Island, you have Riviera Beach. We have different ideology for what the vision of the city is. Uh, and, I see things that most people don't see. Me personally, I believe that I can visibly see where in the next 2 to 3 years there will be another conversation about bringing in the sheriff's office over Riviera Beach Police. Do you support bringing in the sheriff's office over the current Riviera Beach Police that we have?
See, I'm a supporter of our police department and our community policing, but one thing about it, like I said, sometimes we have to change with times. And I'm open to the discussion with my colleagues and residents about it. If it's something for the betterment of our city, I don't see why it wouldn't be considered. As of right now, I support our City of Riviera Beach Police Department because we have some of the best officers in the state that care about our community and care about community policing. What our police department needs, though, they have the same amount of officers on the staff that they did 10 years ago. How does that happen? And our crime rates haven't decreased significantly. We need to provide more resources to our police department so we won't have this discussion again. Until we get serious about offering incentives for new officers, providing training opportunities for existing employees to become police officers, we shouldn't even consider it because we haven't done our job, our duties to provide the resources to the police department. We should be creating programs for existing employees that want to change their careers. If I got a Parks and Recreation employee that is interested in becoming a police officer, the City of Riviera Beach should provide that training opportunity. That's what we need to increase our police force. We need to provide incentives for officers that are coming from different departments to join the City of Riviera Beach Department. And not only that, is provide the training and the resources to our officers to properly police our neighborhoods and the different areas. So, the question about the sheriff department, that is always going to be a conversation because it's a business move. It's a business move for the sheriff department, but that needs to be a conversation amongst my colleagues. I'm willing to hear both sides of the issue. And not only that, collaborate with the residents to hear, what their needs are. Because again, it's ultimately about the residents.
Okay. These are what wrap up my questions. And my final question is a lot of millennials express that they don't come back to the city because they are dealing with the same department heads from 10 and 15 years ago. Do you support that the department heads in our city need a term limit for like a year? Like a cutoff, like for the years that they've been there or something of that nature?
Unfortunately, no, because I work in government and I know how valuable it is to have those years of service. What I do support, though, is us enforcing the fact that department heads should be city residents. All of our department heads are not city residents. And reason being is they've been allowed to not be city residents. So they're taking their taxes, driving our city vehicles to Royal Palm, Wellington, or wherever neighboring city that they live in. That's what they're doing. If we put that back in and enforce it, imagine how much committed our department heads will be to our communities. Imagine how processes will be easier for our residents if they had that commitment in community. They're not using those resources. So when we had the system change for how we pay our water, it didn't matter that it was properly installed or wasn't properly transitioned. They didn't care about that because guess what? They don't have to use the service because they don't stay in the city. We have to enforce that city department heads should be city residents. And there should be a time limit on when they have to become city residents. And if they don't become city residents, they should be removed from the position. I don't think we should have term limits on department heads. I think that if given the correct direction to our city manager, we would ensure that those department heads are working on behalf of residents and not be on behalf of their personal vendettas, because a lot of that is happening. I get a lot of calls from millennials stating that they can't get proper business taxes because they won't, they're giving them the runaround. They can't even give you a proper answer. And that's unacceptable. That's really unacceptable. So the first thing I do is call the department head because I expect you to jump on it. But if you don't have no vested interest in the city, a vested interest in the community that you live in, how do I expect you to work in the best interest of residents? So all of our department heads should reside in the city of Riviera Beach. No exceptions to that rule. If you can't fall within that guise, then they should be removed. There's no reason why they should be paying taxes in a different city, plus driving our vehicles, using gas to go out to those communities. That's what they don't talk about.
Okay. As we ask our last two questions, and then we'll allow you to give your closing comments to the residents that may be watching. Nita's story, our last two questions.
Okay. What does the city of Riviera Beach, and its residents mean to you?
Listen, that's such a touchy subject because I gained an insight into the city of Riviera Beach from my father. He was a lifelong resident, and he was so involved in the political process that he ensured that my sister and I were involved in it too. I mean, my dad was named Gene Washington. They affectionately called him Baby Gene. He was a star athlete at Lincoln, and he was considered the great one. But he would take us to all of these events within the city where we would meet figures like Sylvia Blue, our first Black female mayor. Seeing her, and she would wear her fur coats in the summertime. That was such an impression on me. And that I knew right then I wanted to be on the back of that car in the MLK Parade with that fur coat saying I'm a mayor. So my commitment to the residents is unmeasurable. I played and I grew up in the youth and recreation program. I played basketball for one of the best travel teams in the city of Riviera Beach and the nation. We were groomed to represent the city, and we had to represent the city on and off the court, and we did those things proudly. So what it means to me, the city of Riviera Beach means to me is immeasurable. I'm a lifelong resident. You're going to hear that often throughout the entire interviews for candidates. But also, I'm a lifelong resident that have served the community. I mean, I've served my community since I've been back in 2005. I found a way to ensure to provide opportunities for City of Riviera Beach young girls who didn't have a travel basketball team in the city. But I went to the city of Palm Beach Gardens and created a travel league for them. So they came to Palm Beach Gardens and played with me because we didn't have those opportunities in Riviera Beach. Riviera Beach was the first city I came back to start that organization. So I appreciate individuals like LaTanya Akins that's out there, that's doing the job that we did as youth, and that helped us so much to navigate adult life. So, to talk about my commitment to the city and what Riviera Beach means to me is immeasurable. It's just that the growing up and seeing the figures in the community meant so much to me.
All right. Nita, I don't know if you asked this question. Your first question, what was your first question, Nita? The night you asked. Was it why are you better candidate than the sitting council person?
Yes. That's why I cut it off. Yes.
Okay. Well, my last question to Ms. Washington. Do you think that the city manager should be holding two positions? He's currently the city manager and the other being the CRA director. I know he's not being paid dual salaries, but if both positions are full-time, how can he be given full time to both positions? That was a question from a resident.
Well, first off, let's not put that misconception out there that he's not getting paid for both positions, because eventually we're going to have to retroact his pay for being a CRA director. He's earned that. He deserves that, so he's going to receive payment for that. My concern is, and the person that I'm running against actually made that recommendation for him to become the permanent CRA director with maybe 20 seconds left in the CRA meeting when the residents had chimed off. After 8 hours of interviews of potential CRA candidates, this motion was made to make him a permanent CRA director. After the city had paid all this money to interview 8 candidates, had narrowed it down to, I believe, 3 candidates or 2 candidates, one being a former City of Riviera Beach resident, again, providing opportunities for residents to come back. And those candidates had received emails for their final interview. My opponent made that decision to make a motion for him to become a permanent CRA director. Now, being a part of the recall committee, being that person that walked out and got signatures for him to return as a city manager, I expected for Mr. Evans to be the city manager 100%. I did not sign up for Mr. Evans to be a CRA director. We have two major projects that's coming up. You have phase 2 of the marina that needs 100% attention. We need somebody for that. And then you have the waterfront. We have the capital improvement plans that's upcoming, the reimagine plans upcoming. We need oversight for that. We saw how lack of oversight affect the processes of the city with the RFP with the Solid Waste Authority. We saw how that was botched because there was a lack of consistency in the process. And that's because you didn't have any oversight for the city manager, because the city manager being pulled in other places. That shouldn't be. We shouldn't have anyone holding two full-time positions that are the most important positions in our city. And let's not discuss the fact of the matter is when he got that other position, we had vacancies in HR. We had vacancies in the utilities department. We were in the middle of a pandemic where employees were going out sick. Department heads were going out sick. He had to oversee all of that. And then we don't even take in consideration that he may need time off, and he doesn't have that opportunity to do so. Residents fought to bring him back as a city manager. And that's what we expected to happen. We didn't expect him to take on a position as a CRA director. And he's a professional. So, of course, he's going to take on those additional duties because, hell, I'm a professional. If someone come with me with a challenge, I'm going to take it on. I'm not going to say I can't do it. But let's be honest, he cannot do it because you have to consider how much time are we spending how much time is he spending being a city manager? How much time is he spending being a CRA director? That hasn't even been a discussion. And he needs to be the city manager 100%. We've had some significant issues that have occurred within the city that need to be addressed. And unfortunately, he's being pulled in different directions. At this point, we're paying him more than what the citizens agreed upon, more than what the council members agreed upon, because we're requiring him to do more than one duty. And that was an irresponsible decision. If anything was to happen to Mr. Evans, we'll be stuck where we were before without a city manager. And he has the right to take off or do whatever it is. He has the right to look for other employment opportunities where he's just a city manager alone. I can only imagine the stress that he's going through trying to do 2 full-time jobs with these big projects that's coming up. So no, I don't agree with the decision to make him a CRA director as well as a city manager, because I believe we had some viable candidates and that were city residents that we want to provide opportunities for city residents to come back and work for the city. And again, when it's time to do so, we find other means of not to. So we got to stop talking about the process and be about the process. And we do need a new CRA director.
All right, Ms. Hester, you have no further questions?
Yes. So one more question. I thought I was done, but I do have one more question. How do you plan to bridge the gap between the city and our schools? So we have Millennial Grove, we have JFK, we have Suncoast and the elementary schools. So we have some significant ranking schools here in Riviera Beach. So how do you plan to bridge the gap and create that community partnership?
First off, we don't support those schools equitably. I have concerns about our support for, we always talk about Suncoast. And we have other high school that's in the community. And Suncoast is a great school, and some of our residents are there as students. But let's be honest, majority of the students at Suncoast are not City of Riviera Beach residents. Being in the capacity that I'm in with the city of West Palm Beach, we've talked about different things in the city to how to bridge the gap between schools. And one of the things that I would propose for the city of Riviera Beach is we should put funding in our general fund. And that means we should set aside at least maybe $25,000, $30,000 and have the CRA pitch in and create a grant program for the schools to apply for to get additional funding from the city to provide those services to make them all be on the same playing field. Because it's a shame that you have JFK Middle School athletics program. I mean, just last year I donated to the cheerleading team because they needed new cheerleading uniforms. The parents couldn't afford for the shoes that they needed. So we provided an opportunity. We went out and got donations for them to have that, because I hate to see a child not have. But if we provided grant opportunities for our local schools through our local government, if we truly want to be about education, we need to provide those resources where we have money in our general fund and which schools can apply for, set it at a cap for like $3,000 or $5,000 grants that can be used for various educational activities, whether it's anti-bullying activities, whether we're discussing reading programs with our or athletics. We should be able to bridge that gap by providing financial resources to our city. We have it. We waste so much money on frivolous things. So imagine if we set that aside with additional funding from the CRA and additional funding from these businesses that's in our city, because we have so many Fortune 500 businesses in our city that's not giving back to our community, and provide a grant opportunity for local schools in which the principals or teachers can apply for, and we provide that funding to help with the educational gap in our communities. Can you imagine how significant of an increase of an influence that would be, of an impact that would be for our schools if we provided a grant through our city with the help of the CRA and local businesses for our local schools to apply for? Can you imagine the impact that I have? I mean, we have students right now, some don't have access to high-speed internet, and that's an issue. By now we should have partnered with Comcast. We should have partnered with other areas in which we should be providing high-speed internet in our local parks so that kids can go and do their homework in the park if need be. I was one of those kids that you had to go to the library because I didn't have internet at home. This day and age, we shouldn't have that problem. Local cities should be providing that at little to low cost. We should make sure our residents have access to it. So my proposal is to set aside some funding in the general fund, $25,000 to $30,000 a year, get some additional donations from the local businesses, etc. CRA should be kicking in too, and provide grant opportunities for our local schools, principals, teachers to apply for to get additional financial resources to provide the services to our kids. That's the least we can do. We can't talk about we value education and we don't put forth the effort for education. And the rest of the candidates that will be on this, that you were interviewed, they're welcome to steal that, because I want to see that put in place, whether I'm elected or not. That needs to happen if we're going to be serious about education.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord, Horace, you have to turn your mic on.
Horace, we can't hear you.
If there are no more questions, I would give Ms. Washington 2 minutes to give your closing comments and tell the people why they should vote for Marvelous Washington.
Well, I love the city of Riviera Beach. And one of my main goals was to represent the city of Riviera Beach, and not only just to serve the community, but as an elected official. I feel like my skill set and what I bring to the position, the character that I have, reputation that I have, will serve the residents' needs more than just the political needs of our city. I plan on bringing initiatives within our city. My platform is Change is Marvelous, and one of the things that I want to bring in is create a citizens police advisory board, because we need to bridge the gap between the public service, public safety officers and residents. We should have an outside agency that weigh in on incidents that involve the police officers or progressive discipline that our police officers are experiencing. We should have an outside agency to weigh in that consists of residents and local business owners. We should have that. That's one of the things that I would like to create. I want to help create quality youth programming. My background is youth programming, so I know the needs of our communities. I understand that youth are, we cannot continue to offer just athletic programs and thinking that's going to help our youth get off the street and find things to do. We need to offer things in arts and crafts. We need to offer opportunities in technology. We should provide coding classes. It's a lot of things that we can do as it relates to quality programming, but we have to think outside the box and understand that athletics is not the last opportunity, only way of getting out of the situation that our youth are in. I want to be an advocate for affordable housing. I already talked about my plan to establish a department to meet those goals. And not only that, we need to ensure that we are providing neighborhoods that are safe and safe streets and play areas. We have playgrounds in our communities that need uplifting. In particular, Sadie McCray Park, the surfacing needs to be resurfaced on the basketball courts. Kids are playing in the streets because they can't play basketball because you got holes in the court. And that's been going on for 3 years. We need to upgrade our play areas, because it truly does starts in parks. The only way we get new residents in, people to move into our communities, families, is our recreation program has to be top tier. Not only that, our play areas should be top tier. We should be thinking outside the box of creating a skate park for our residents, because all kids don't just want to play basketball and football. We have skateboarding now. We have people getting on these motorized bikes. They want to do all of these things. So we should provide those resources in our communities. Not only that, we need to get the community engaged. Community engagement is a must. So not only should we be hosting city council meetings at City Hall, we should be going into the neighborhoods, the local parks, Goodmark Park, the local HOA meeting places, meeting the residents where they are, so they can just, after work, when they finish with cooking dinner, their second job, if there's a meeting and it's right in the neighborhood, they can just walk up the street in the park and we can have a meeting about what is needed in our community. We have to engage our community. We can't continue to host these meetings at the library or at the city hall, where it may be inconvenience or uncomfortable for residents to speak about or to speak openly about what they want to see. And lastly, environmental preservation protection. Let's be honest. We can't be environmentalists part-time. We live and work and play in the best waterfront city in the county. We need to take care of our natural habitats. It's a must that we all pitch in. So we should not be approving redevelopment in areas when it's not appropriate. We should be discussing low density housing. We should be discussing providing housing in areas where transportation is readily available. You know, I live in a community right now where we have a golf courses up for sale. And all I can envision is the city can purchase that golf course to create a barrier-free play area, green spaces. It's a shame that we relocate our wildlife with the hopes that and saying it's redevelopment, and redeveloping areas that's not accessible to our current residents. I mean, the residents stay on the west side. We don't have any green spaces. We don't have any play areas. We don't have recreation activities because we have to go all the way to the east to participate in them. So we have to begin to think out the box. My platform has changed. I am experienced, I'm ethical, and I'm committed, and I'm firmly invested into the community from the west side to the east side. And I need residents to understand I'm here to serve. I want to represent the residents. I want to represent the people over politics. And again, thank you guys for having me on this show. Any further questions, you're welcome to email me at electmarvelouswashington@gmail.com. You can continue to look at my platform and see additional updates about my campaign at electmarvelouswashington.com. And I'm on social media, Instagram and Twitter. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Well, thank you for the crew. Listen, my closing comments is this was our intention was to create a safe space somewhere where we're not letting outside sources, we're not letting targeted or malicious stories against political candidates or elected officials take place. We want somewhere where we can actually hear about stuff that's related to political benefits.
I wish you would have asked me that question, Horace, and thank you for providing the platform. But I think that has no place in politics. Chopping up videos to make another person look bad in efforts to make your candidate looks better is not. We need to stick to the facts.
Right.
Stick to of this election, and we'll be
campaigns.
Correct.
Yes.
Close the comments, Hester and Nita story. Let's go 1 minute. Let's go.
Yes, we'll be right back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. We have the incumbent Douglas Lawson of District 5. So please join us tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Millennials, this is your time to tap back into your community. If you have any questions that you want asked, please reach out to me on social media. For those of you that have my phone number, text me. Not too late though, because I go to sleep, but make sure you get your questions to me. And I'm excited. And thank you, Ms. Marvelous, for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys go nowhere. We're going backstage. Thank you for tuning in. See us tomorrow.